I've never been a fan of romantic films, and it's not that I haven't seen any good ones, because I have. Obviously there's Titanic, and I've seen The Notebook, which is a really sad story, but you know, I'm not the kind of guy who would ever go to the cinema and watch a romantic film, except for Twilight. Now, before I go into the details of why I'm such a big fan of Twilight, I want to tell you guys why I don't enjoy films like Titanic and The Notebook. It's simply because I can't relate to those films. And honestly, one of the reasons people go to watch these romantic films is because they want to relate to them in some way. I mean, girls have told me, oh, I love Titanic, it's the most amazing film, I can relate to it in so many ways. But no, you can't. You can't relate to it. I mean, you might be in love with somebody, but there's no way that your partner is going to freeze to death to save your life because you were in a shipwreck. I mean, come on, let's get serious. There's no way I can relate to a film like that. With Twilight, however, I'll tell you why I can relate to that film, and I'm gonna try and be as articulate as I can. I'm gonna try and do an essay on this so you guys can see how serious I am. But anyway, Twilight basically adopts the Romeo and Juliet cliche and is, you know, classic love triangle, but I think it surpasses the cliche on an allegorical level, mainly because of Bella. I mean, her character is so important. She's bang in the middle of this unconventional world, or what seems unconventional, but symbolically it's like literally what every person goes through, which is choosing the right life partner to match your lifestyle. I mean, you have the vampires, who are portrayed as good and evil, mostly evil, and then you've got the werewolves, who I would say are only portrayed as good, as they only kill vampires and they never kill human beings. But regardless, there's a distinct connection between the two. They're both superhuman beings, they're both unnatural people, unnatural beings. And you know, the vampires, they have super speed, super strength, healing, and each individual has like a special gift of their own. Like one of them could read minds, or one of them can see the future. And werewolves, they have more or less the same powers as the vampires, except they're super warm and they're telepathically linked, so they can hear each other's thoughts. And up until Bella met Edward, she had her own conventional beliefs. She didn't believe in vampires or werewolves or supreme beings. I doubt she even had a religious adherence or was influenced by any kind of ideology. But after she met Edward, she was exposed to this world that she knew nothing about. She was compelled to believe in it because she had seen it with her own eyes. And in a way, Edward is the revelation. It's kind of like religion. You only adhere or believe in something and believe in a particular faith until you've seen something that is manifested in front of you, until you've actually seen, you know, what can be explained only by religion. And in relation to vampires, it's funny how they're always immortal. And no matter what film they are, I mean, in Underworld, in Blade, vampires are always immortal. And the character Edward wasn't born a vampire, meaning he wasn't always immortal, obviously. And before I thought of Twilight as an allegory, I'd always thought that Edward was sublime in some way. And to some extent, his character it's really subliminal to biblical reference. Not even his character alone, vampires in general. I mean, for example, Christians believe that you can't get into heaven unless you're baptized. And after doing this, you become born again, meaning that your old life is washed away and then you become a new creation, able to receive the gifts of the Spirit and reach the kingdom of heaven. So basically, Christians believe that they live forever because Jesus defeated death when he died on the cross, and their faith in him would mean an eternal life in heaven. So essentially, a Christian is born twice and only dies once, but lives forever in the afterlife. Now, in juxtaposition, listen to me in juxtaposition. I feel extra coherent today. As I was saying, in juxtaposition, a vampire, in Edward's case, is born and he's made into a new creation and has basically skipped death. He skipped the death part and he's immortal. So there's a large similarity in the biblical reference I was talking about. But you know what I find most intriguing about the romance between Bella and Edward? It's not that it's a romantic cliche portrayed in a modern way. It's that Bella is willing to abandon her humanity to be with Edward. And there's literally no compulsion from his side whatsoever. In fact, he resents her decision to be like him. He resents her becoming a vampire. I mean, I hate Bella, FYI. I literally hate her. But that's only because of her poor casting in the films. I guarantee, like, if I read the books, I'd probably love her. But I admire her character. I mean, fair enough, she falls in love with Edward. Yeah, boo-hoo. Anyone can fall in love. But then she decides that she wants to be a vampire. She wants to live forever, and she hasn't been forced. This is literally the most beautiful part of the story. I mean, because realistically, as an audience, you don't want her to be a vampire. You don't even want her to be with Edward. Well, I didn't anyway. I wanted her to be with Jacob because, you know, I love Jacob and he's the right choice. But, you know, if she was with Jacob, she wouldn't have to become immortal. She wouldn't have to drink blood or do any of that weird stuff. She could be herself. In fact, she could have been herself and be with Edward, but the amazing thing about it is that she has the choice to be or not to be a vampire, whereas she couldn't choose to be or not to be a werewolf. And this would have been a difficult decision to make. I mean, she's only a teenager, and this is her first love. I mean, is she really going to abandon her normal way of life, eating, sleeping, aging, just to be with someone who may not even have a soul, someone who's killed people? Or is she going to live a normal life with someone who is immortal and she can't change to match? Or doesn't need to change to match, more importantly. I mean, to be with Edward, Bella would have in time had to abandon everything. Her family, her friends. No one could see that she wasn't aging, or that she wasn't eating, or that her eye colour had changed. I mean, if it wasn't for pre-vampire intercourse, whatever the hell that is, she would have had to sacrifice her seed also. I mean, she wouldn't be able to have kids if she was a vampire. Her sacrifice for Edward is the epitome of love, in my opinion. No arguments. But anyway, I used to compare myself to Jacob even when I was in a relationship, and now I've realized I'm not really like him as much as I thought. I mean, despite that I've shown countless signs of love in previous relationships and always been disappointed, and that I'm warm-hearted and protective, and that I can change into a werewolf. Just kidding. I'm actually more like Edward in terms of the lifestyle I live. I'm not trying to insinuate that I'm a supreme being, but me being a Christian, there's certain sacrifices I have to make in terms of the partner I choose. I mean, I can only really be with someone who is like me or is willing to be like me. Even though I won't limit myself to only dating Christian girls, when it comes to marriage, you know, I'd have to find someone who wasn't afraid to make sacrifices for love. But anyway, that's enough for this essay talk, man. I think Twilight is a very inspiring film for the younger generation. I mean, the story teaches the importance of trust in a relationship. The fact that certain sacrifices have to be made, but that in the end love is the greater good. I mean, I know it's just a story and nothing you experience in life could ever like amount to the fiction that takes place in Twilight, but it's very inspirational. And you know, it kind of teaches that, you know, what is classified as the best decision for you to make isn't necessarily the decision you should make. But anyway, I guess I will just leave you with a little question for you guys to answer in the comment section below. So, are you Team Jacob or Team Edward? Thumbs up if you're Team Jacob. Nobody say Team Edward. Don't be an idiot. I'm just kidding. Anyway, take care, guys. Peace.